Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Bibbity Bobbity Books. My name is Ellie and this is going to be my winter TBR video. Is it November? Yes. Do I still have autumn Halloween decorations up? Also yes. But what you can't see is that the rest of my house is absolute chaos because we are in the process of moving. Everything is in boxes, everything is all over the place. And so I just wanted to keep one corner of the house semi-presentable and kind of cute so that I can film this video. So that is why, and also I've just been very busy and just haven't gotten around to de-autumning this corner of the house yet, so please forgive me for that, but hopefully it still looks cute and festive. Before I get into this video, I just want to take a moment to check in with you and ask how you are. I hope that you are all doing well. I know there has been a lot going on in the world recently and I'm just really sorry if that's making you feel stressed and anxious and uncertain about your future, and I'm just sending you all so much love. Please do take time to check in with your friends and family and your loved ones because, you know, it's not easy right now and you never know what's going on in people's personal lives as well, so it's just always good to check in with people. So that's what I'm doing to you as well. I hope that you're doing okay. Please do let me know how you are in the comment section down below. I have been busy. I don't want to harp on about this for too long because I feel like I'm getting quite repetitive, but as you probably know, I'm in the process of moving. We've been trying to move for 2 years and it's finally getting there. It looks like we're going to be moving out in the next 2 weeks, which is very exciting and also quite stressful. So we've been busy arranging all of that stuff. We're moving across the country, so we're having to arrange removal vans and things. We're also buying a new place on the other side of the country, so we're doing all the admin and paperwork for that, and it's just been consuming my life at the moment. You know, thinking about new jobs, it's a big life change, so I feel like I've been a little bit stressed, which has affected my reading. I haven't done a whole ton of reading recently. I've just not been able to concentrate, and yeah, it's also affected my filming schedule, so I'm really sorry that there's been a delay with my videos, but I thought I'd film a video today because I've been going through my shelves and I've been looking through all my books and packing them up and everything because obviously we're moving, and I realised that I'm going to need to take some books with me to read over the next few months because the plan is for us to move in with my in-laws for a little while until we get access to our new house, which is hopefully going to be end of January, beginning of February. So I need to obviously put most of my books in storage, but I also want to keep some out so that I can read them over the next few months. So I've pulled some books off my shelves, I've put them into this big old book box here. So I'm going to go through what I've selected with you today. And yeah, it's been a little bit tricky because I'm a mood reader, so I don't know what I'm going to fancy reading. And I also just don't want to take too much because we're not going to have much space in my in-laws' house, so I can't take loads of books. So I've had to be quite selective as well, so it's been a little bit tricky, but I've whittled it down to these books. So without further ado, I'm just going to talk you through what I've chosen and what I'm probably going to be reading over the next few months. So the first book that I've put in my box of books is this book, which is A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos. This was originally published in French and it's been translated by Hildegard Serlet. And yeah, this is one of those books that I picked up ages ago. I feel like a lot of people were talking about this book. It had quite a lot of buzz, and so I picked it up thinking it would be something that I would really enjoy. And then for some reason it's just sat on my shelves and I haven't reached for it. I think because it's a winter setting, and so I've been waiting for the perfect moment to reach for this book, and then I just haven't gotten around to it. So when I was going through my shelves and I found this one, it was quite exciting because I'd actually forgotten that I even owned this book, and so yeah, I thought it's about time that I get to this one. It is a young adult book, which makes me a little bit cautious because I feel like over the last few years I've fallen out of love a little bit with YA books. It just seems like they don't quite work for me anymore, but I am willing to give this one a try because I think it sounds like something that's going to be very whimsical, something that's going to be magical, something that's going to be transporting. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like YA books are great if you want something that's going to be a little bit of a pick-me-up, something that's perhaps a little bit easier to read, something that maybe doesn't involve too much heavy thinking, if you know what I mean, something that's just going to be quite light and quite fun, and I hope that that is what this book is going to be. So yeah, I don't know a huge amount about this one. It says on the back that it follows our main character Ophelia, who is a bit of a misfit, and she possesses two special gifts: a talent for reading the past of objects and the ability to travel through mirrors. And it says her peaceful existence is interrupted when she is promised in marriage to the taciturn Thorn, a member of a powerful clan from a cold and distant Ark. So it obviously has an arranged marriage trope in there. I like the fact that she has these magical abilities, the gift to walk through mirrors, I think sounds really interesting, and to read the pasts of objects. I don't know, I just feel like this one's going to be a little bit magical and atmospheric. It says on some of the quotes that it is a glowing example of the rare thing that is the YA novel in translation. It says it's out of this world, it tugs at the heartstrings, it says it's fantastical, disturbing and dangerously addictive. So yeah, I'm intrigued by this one, and hopefully this one is going to be the perfect wintry atmospheric book. The next few books that I put in my box are adult fantasy books. So I feel like winter is a time of year where I really crave historical fiction. I feel like there's something so cozy and comforting to me about that genre, something that just makes me, I don't know, feel like I want that for winter when it's cold outside and you just want to snuggle up and become fully immersed in a new fantastical world. So I definitely wanted to include some adult fantasy in here, and I stumbled across these books on my shelves. So these are the Winter King books by Bernard Cornwell. So it's a trilogy, so I have all three here. I actually think I was gifted these for Christmas a while back, so I feel kind of guilty that I haven't gotten to these yet. But yeah, I found them on my shelves and I thought, Winter King, it's winter, that sounds like the perfect time to finally give these books a go. And yeah, I just wanted to pack all three just in case I end up really loving it and wanting to binge the whole series. And I think it sounds like a lot of fun because this is actually a Arthurian retelling. So you've got Merlin, you've got King Arthur, you've got Guinevere, all of those characters that we are familiar with. And I've heard a lot of people really love this one and say that it's well written. And so I'm excited to give it a go. So yeah, let me know if you've read this series because I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, because I feel like I haven't heard that many people speaking about this one for a while. So yeah, do let me know if you've read these and if you think that I would enjoy them. Next up, I have a couple of standalone fantasy books. Again, I'm kind of leaning into fantasy books at the moment. I think I'm just craving that escapism. And so I popped this one in my box, which is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. This is a very popular fantasy book and I just haven't gotten to it yet, which is surprising because I really enjoy Neil Gaiman's writing. I feel like he has such a imaginative writing style. It's very sort of creative, very whimsical, very magical, and I just really enjoy that. And I haven't read Neverwhere, which is one of his most popular books, so I'm very excited to give this one a try. All I know is that it involves kind of like a parallel London, I believe, or a London below, and honestly, that's all I know. I'll read you a little bit from the back to give you an idea. So this one follows a normal guy called Richard who stops to help a girl he finds bleeding in the street, and his unremarkable life changes in an instant. This act of kindness leads him to a place filled with murderers and angels, pale girls and black velvet, a beast in a labyrinth, and an earl who holds court in a tube train. It's strangely familiar, yet utterly bizarre. Here is London below, the city of people who have fallen between the cracks, and for Richard, it's just the beginning. So yeah, I feel like this is going to be a whimsical, wild, bizarre fantasy story, and I'm just very excited to give it a go. And then I also picked this one to put in my box. This is Under the Pendulum Sun, a novel of the Fae written by Jeanette Ng. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her surname, I'm really sorry, I should have looked that up before. But yeah, this one sounds really unique, and I haven't heard that many people talking about it on BookTube, which makes me intrigued, and I'm excited to give it a try. It's a Victorian Gothic style fantasy novel that involves the Fae, as far as I'm aware. So it follows our main character Catherine, and her brother is actually a missionary, but he disappeared while bringing the Gospels to the Dark Continent, not Africa, but Arcadia, legendary land of the magical Fae. Okay, so in true Ellie fashion, my camera battery died, so I had to go and recharge it. I couldn't find a spare one. So it's been a few hours since I last spoke to you, so sorry for that. But I think I just mentioned this book, which I'm excited to read. I've also got a couple of science fiction books, in case I'm fancying something like that. So I've got The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is the fourth and final book in the Wayfarers series, which is a kind of cozy sci-fi series that I really enjoy. So I'm excited to read the final book, but I'm also kind of sad about it because I don't want this series to end, because I've thoroughly enjoyed every single instalment so far. And I just find Becky Chambers' writing really comforting. And so for that reason, I feel like this might be a good book to pick up soon while my life is a little bit all over the place. Sometimes you want something that's going to be a little bit cozy, a little bit comforting, and I think that is what Becky Chambers is to me. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I'm not going to go through the blurb because it's the fourth book in a series, although I'm not sure if there's going to be anything that would be spoilers on there, but I also just quite like to go into books without knowing too much. But if you're interested in this series, the first book is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and it follows a crew of people on board a ship called the Wayfarer, and it's a ship that tunnels through space, so it creates kind of like wormholes to make travel through space a little bit quicker and easier for people. And the story is basically just following the crew, so it's very character focused, and you're following different people and you're finding out about them, and it's a really varied bunch because you've got different species on there as well. So you've got various different alien races to become familiar with, and they all have different views on things like relationships and religion and romance and friendship, and it's just a really interesting way to explore different ideas and to also think about some of the things that we as humans tend to assume, or the way that we think, and to challenge that a little bit from an outsider's perspective. And I always like books that do that. But yeah, it's just a very cozy, character-driven story. Probably not for you if you're more of a plot-driven reader, but if you like books that have great characters that explore different themes, then I would definitely recommend them, especially if you're looking for a sci-fi that's a bit more hopeful, because I tend to find that a lot of science fiction tends to be quite bleak, tends to have quite a negative outlook on the future and on humanity and where we're headed. So it's quite refreshing to read something that has a little bit of a more positive outlook, which I feel like we might all need at the moment. The next sci-fi book that I put in my box is Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is his most recent release, and I got it recently for my birthday, and I'm excited to read it. This is a sci-fi standalone, I believe, and it follows a robot as the main character. And I always enjoy stories that have robots at the heart of it, especially when they're exploring things like consciousness and robots who are trying to find their own identity, their own purpose, and I think that's exactly what this story is doing. So I'll read you a little bit from the inside. So it says, task list item number 1, become self-aware. Meet Charles, the latest in robot servant technology. Programmed to undertake the most menial household chores, Charles is loyal, efficient, and logical to a fault. That is, until a rather large fault causes him to murder his owner. Understandably perplexed, Charles finds himself without a master and therefore worthless in a society utterly reliant on artificial labour and services. Fleeing the household, he enters a wider world he never knew existed. Here, an age-old human hierarchy is disintegrating into ruins, and an entire robot ecosystem devoted to its well-being is struggling to find a purpose. Charles must face new challenges, illogical tasks, and a cast of irrational characters. He's about to discover that sometimes all it takes is a nudge to overcome the limits of your programming. But can he help fix the world, or is it too badly broken? Okay, so the next book that I put in here, I just put in here for a bit of fun. So I know that I said that I don't typically love young adult fantasy, especially fantasy romance. It just doesn't normally gel with me. But I was going through my shelves and I found this book and it made me smile. And I thought, do you know what? Maybe I would enjoy something like this, something that doesn't take itself too seriously, something that I'm not going to have super high expectations for, and something that I can just read when I'm just wanting something, I don't know, a little bit silly maybe. Or I don't want to like do this book an injustice because I know a lot of people like it, but the book I'm talking about is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This is the first book in a young adult fantasy romance series, the series that came before A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is Sarah J Maas's probably most popular series, although this one is also very popular. I have read A Court of Thorns and Roses and I did enjoy it. It was actually the series that got me back into reading after a long period in my life of not reading books. So I owe a lot to that series really. And so when I saw this book on my shelves, I thought, do you know what? Let's put it in the box of books because I might just want something like this when I'm feeling a little bit stressed and I want something that's going to feel a little bit comforting. So that's what I did. I don't think this is a genre that really works for me now with where I am in my life at the moment, but I might want something a little bit nostalgic, so that's the reason why I put it in this box. Do I know what this one is about? No, not really. I believe it follows our main character who is an assassin. That's all I know, and that's all I need to know, so there we go. I popped that in there just in case I want something like that. And then the rest of the books that I've got in my box are ones that I've sort of carried over from my autumn TBR because I haven't been reading a whole lot recently, so I am a little bit behind on the books that I wanted to read during the autumn season. So I'm just going to go through them quite quickly. The first one is a classic, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This doesn't need much introduction. I feel like we are all familiar with this story. This is about a man called Dorian Gray who creates a portrait of himself, and the portrait ages instead of himself so that he can stay young and beautiful forever. I've heard good things about this book. I think that winter is a great time for this kind of gothic style of classic literature, and so if there's ever going to be a time that I'm going to want to read this book, it's now. And yeah, I made reading classics one of my goals for this year, and honestly I've done terrible at achieving that goal. I think I've only read one classic this whole year, so I really need to try and squeeze one in before the end so I can say I've at least read two. So yes, I definitely want to pick this one up soon. Then we have The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This is a horror book that sounds very unique, and I think it explores some quite heavy themes, so I feel like I need to be in the right headspace before I pick this one up, so I don't know if I'm going to reach for it soon. But I am very intrigued by this one. I know a lot of people have recommended it to me because they think that I would like it, and I think that I will from what I've heard other people talking about. I don't know too much about the actual plot for this one, aside from the fact that we follow a woman called Carolyn, and she, I think, has been abducted by someone. It says here she was a normal American herself once. That was a long time ago, of course, before she and the others were taken by a man they called father. In the years since then, Carolyn hasn't had a chance to get out much. Instead, she and her adopted siblings have studied the books in his library and learnt some of the secrets of his power, and sometimes they've wondered if their cruel tutor might secretly be God. Now father is missing, perhaps even dead, and the library that holds his secrets stands unguarded, and with it control over all creation. So I think this sounds so interesting. I do think it explores some difficult topics, including sort of abuse and things like that, abusive relationships, so trigger warnings, but it has a library in it. It has a really interesting premise, so I'm excited to give this one a go if I'm in the right headspace. Then I've got this tome, which is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. It's a really chunky one, but I think it sounds very cozy because this one also involves a library, a big ancient library, and there's something that's so cozy about that setting for winter. I just want to be in a big library. I want to smell the parchment. I want to smell the sort of dusty, maybe candle waxy scent in the air and be surrounded by books. I don't know, I think that sounds so magical and just so atmospheric for the winter season. And honestly, I don't know a huge amount about this one. It doesn't give much away. It just says that there are two characters. There's Eva, who has lived in this vast library, which is older than empires and larger than cities. And then there's Levira, who spent her time in a tiny settlement out on the dust where no one goes and nightmares stalk. And it says the world has never noticed them, but that's about to change. So yeah, I'm very interested in this one. I think it might be a little bit dark as well, and atmospheric, and I have heard some positive things about this first book in the series, so I'm excited, although I am a little bit intimidated by how chunky it is. So we'll see if I get round to that one. And then the final book in my box is Sleaford by Brom. So this one is of course carried over from my autumn TBR, and it's probably the book that I'm going to pick up next. And I'm excited. I know a lot of people really enjoy this one. It's a witchy story. I've read a few of Brom's books before, and I've got a bit of a hit and miss relationship with his work. There have been some books that I've absolutely loved of his, others that didn't quite work for me. So I'm excited to see how I feel about this one, but I do know this is an incredibly popular one, so I'm expecting that I'm going to love it as much as everyone else does. And yeah, it's a witchy, atmospheric, and it also includes a lot of Brom's artwork, which I just love because he has a real sort of gothic style to his art, and I really enjoy that there are some of his pieces in the pages because it just creates even more of an experience when you're reading his books. So yeah, I really love collecting his novels for this reason, and I'm excited to give this one a try. So yeah, that's the final book that I have put in my box of books. Like I said, I didn't want to take too many because I don't have much space, and I also am hoping to get some books for Christmas. And yeah, I've actually been really good recently and not buying too many books because we are moving, so I haven't bought books for a really long time, and I've been working my way through my own TBR, and I've pretty much read everything else on my shelves, which I'm really pleased about actually. There's only sort of a handful of books that I haven't read that I'm not including in this box, so yeah, I love that. I'm sort of like whittling down my TBR and making sure that I'm only taking books with me that I want to keep forever, that really reflect my reading taste. And I'm just so excited to move and to start this new chapter in my life, and I feel so lucky to be in this position and to be able to, you know, move into a new place, to be closer to family, to be closer to the countryside, which is something that's really important to me, and to have a little bit more space, which again is going to be so fun. I'm so excited to be able to have, you know, a proper place where I can display all my books, because we don't have a huge amount of space in this house, and so I've just got sort of piles of books everywhere, so it'd be nice to actually have somewhere, you know, that I can create into a little library. Hopefully that's the dream, and I'm so excited. So yes, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video if you did like it, subscribe if you want to see some more from me, and I guess I'll see you next time with another video, which may not be in this house. How crazy is that? Crazy and exciting. Anyway, I'll catch you then. Bye for now.